In preparation for our upcoming dive trip to the Caymans, I've been doing a ton of research on how to pack dive gear into carry-on bags and personal items. I've come across many people who have had the same questions. I've not yet come across an in-depth review or example or demonstration on how to do this. As I've gone throughout this process, I've found a method that works for me where I'm able to pack most of my dive kit, and I thought I would share that in hopes that it will help the next person. These are the items that I've identified as what I consider essential to my dive kit so that I know that I will be comfortable diving even in the off chance that my checked bag gets delayed or lost. So what I'm going to do is demonstrate how to pack all of these items into my carry-on item and my personal item. My carry-on item and my personal item more or less meet the size requirements of most major airlines in the US. They might be an inch off here or there, but I think that they will work. They'll be sufficient. They may not work or likely won't work if you're on smaller airlines or if you're flying internationally, so just be mindful of that. As I've gone through this process, the airlines that I have checked, their carry-on requirements are 22 by 14 by 9, which is more or less what this bag is. This bag is actually a 22 by 14 by 10, so it's 1 inch thicker than what they recommend. I'm just going to try not to pack it or overpack it too much. For a personal item, most of the major US airlines allow an 18 by 14 by 8. This personal item here is a 20 by 12 by 9, so again it's a little bit bigger, but it's comparable to carry-ons and personal items that I've used for other reasons for many years now, so I'm pretty confident it'll work, and I'll come back and post later if it doesn't work. So to start with, these are all the items that I have. I've got my wetsuit, I've got my hooded vest, my boots, my fins, my computer, mask, my regs, and my BCD. And I know a lot of people may not think that all of this stuff is essential, and they're right. Essential items or critical items you may consider as just your regs, your mask, and your computer. But for me, I have found that as I try to rent things at other places or other dive shops, I don't tend to find things that fit me very well. So if at all possible, I like to take my own stuff so that I know that I'll be comfortable. So the first thing I'm going to start with is my carry-on item. This is an OGIO layover travel bag. It's only 8 pounds when it's empty, so it's not overly heavy. One of the things I like about this bag is that it is a 2-wheel roller. So the 2-wheel rollers, as you can see, are pretty much flush with the bottom, so I'm not losing any length here. The other options that I've seen are the 4-wheel spinners, and those have the 4 wheels at the bottom. But what I've seen with those is the wheels tend to take, an inch or 2 out of your length. So for me, I want to have as much length as I possibly can. Now, what these wheels may affect is the depth here. So as we look at these wheels, you can kind of see how there's, probably about an inch there. Something to be mindful of. But ultimately, this bag seems to be a good bag. I don't necessarily think that the brand is important. I really think it's the measurements. Really aiming for that 22 by 14 by 9. You could probably pick up a bag around that size at most places. I went with OGIO just because I kind of like the brand. But this is not a review of any specific brand at all. So what I'm going to do first is just open this up and show the inside. So inside of this, there's a couple of things I want to point out. These pockets, if I'm not trying to, pack as much dive gear, are probably useful. But since I'm going to pack as much dive gear as I can in here, I like to fold these down. The purpose for that is because as things kind of poke out above the top here, I'm going to want to give them that little bit of extra room to fit in. The other thing I like about this bag is it has these compression straps. I rely on these compression straps to help me cinch things down, so that also prevents them from being too tall. So I'm going to flip this bag so that I have the bottom here and the top up here. And the first thing I'm going to pack is my back plate and wing. So on my back plate and wing, I did disconnect the back plate from the wing. This just makes it pack better. So there's just a couple of wing nuts that go into here. I do have a single tank adapter that goes with it, and then my tank straps I also disconnected. I was able to pack this without disconnecting the tank straps, but then I couldn't get my boots in, so my trade-off was I'm willing to take out the tank straps and put them back together. That way I know I can take my boots with me. So for my back plate, I'm going to pack it so that the bottom of the back plate is at the bottom of the bag. And I'm going to take these shoulder straps and I'm going to disconnect them here so that I can flip them around behind it. The reason for this is because these types of carry-ons, they have their handles, and the handles have two bars going down the middle of the bag. So what ends up happening is this part of the back plate fits nicely in between them, and then these shoulder straps can fit nicely underneath each side of the back plate. The goal here is to just get this as flat as possible, so it's taking up as little height as possible. I'm going to flip the pockets off to the side. And I'm just going to throw the belt out for now. Later on, I will wrap it around my fins. All right, so again, the purpose of this is to make this as flat as possible. You can kind of see I've got the pockets along the sides. They're tucked in beside or in between the back plate and the carry-on. And I've got the shoulder straps tucked behind the back plate. So everything kind of fits nice and snug and it's as flat as possible. I'm going to take the crotch strap and just kind of route it across here and tuck it so it is also as flat as possible. So the next thing that I'm going to pack into here is going to be my single tank adapter. That's just going to fit right here in the back. It fits in there pretty nicely. So it's nice and snug right there. Then I am going to take my boots and I'm going to pack my boots so that the boot is right along the side, tucks into there. And then this boot's going to come along the other side and tuck into there. Then I'm going to take my wetsuit and I'm going to put my wetsuit here in the middle. So it's not all the way to the edge here and it's not all the way to the edge here. I want to have a little bit of space, both of those edges, and just kind of press it down. Then I am going to take my first tank strap here and I'm going to tuck it into the side here. I'm going to take my other tank strap that's got one of my trim weight pockets on it, and I'm going to set it in the center right here, right on top of my boots. I'm going to take my other trim pocket and just kind of tuck it into the other side here. Then I'm going to take my wing, and for the wing, I'm going to make sure that my inflator hose is going down, so that I can tuck the inflator hose down along the side here so that it's not sticking out. And the inflator hose, or the top of the wing, is going to go at the bottom of the carry-on. And just kind of tuck it all down in there. That into the side. Okay. Now I'm going to take my fins and I'm going to put my fins right on top. Just like this. And this is where I'm going to take my belt now, and I'm going to pull my belt as tight as possible and just kind of loop them under the fins. I've tried other methods with the belt, and if you try to fold the belt in other ways, it does tend to be clunky and take up extra space. So I found this is the method that works best for me. Take this side of my belt, do the same exact thing. Just tuck it in underneath that fin. Tuck this into the side. Here. Okay. Now I'm going to use my compression straps here to pull these down nice and tight. Okay, so those are the fins. I'm going to take my hooded vest now, and I'm going to attempt to put my hooded vest in here on top of my fins. So I'm just going to fold it in half, try and keep it thin because I don't want to add too much extra space here. I'm going to attempt to put it this way, just kind of tuck it in the edges here and in these edges. I'm going to take my flashlight here and I'm just going to stick it into the fin pocket. And I'm also going to take my fin and mask keeper that I like and stick it here. You could probably also stick a couple other smaller things in the fin pockets if you'd like. Now these, when I close this bag here, one of the reasons why I unzip those pockets is because if you'll notice, I've got this D-ring poking up. I've got the tops of my fins poking up here. So what those are going to do is just poke right up into that pocket there so that they don't push up any more than they need to. And a quick note on my fins are probably the maximum size fins that you're going to fit into a carry-on, at least from what I can see. So my fins are RK3s, they're medium, they're about 20.5 by 9 by 3. My husband's fins are much bigger, so his fins are not going to fit into a carry-on at all. So, go ahead and zip this. And as you can see, I'm zipping it pretty easily. I'm not having to fight with it. So hopefully that's a good indication that I have not overpacked it. So hopefully I can still squish down on it if I need to. We're going to measure it just to make sure. So the depth here is one of the biggest things that I'm most worried about. So if I measure here, I'm probably right about 10.5 inches here, which again is about 1.5 inches deeper than what they want, but I'm going to take my chances. And if I measure here, this is just under 10 inches. So really this 10 inches here is because of those wheels. So that 10 inches includes the depth of the wheel, but if you took that out, you'd be good. So for this purpose, I was able to get my BCD and my I was able to get my back plate and my wing, my fins, my hooded vest, my wetsuit, and flashlight, and a couple other miscellaneous things in here. So this is good. So I'm going to lift this up. I do have my wing nuts from my back plate and wing, and I'm just going to stick these in to this top pocket so that they don't get lost. Little zipper here. Okay. I believe this bag is good to go. It is not all that heavy. I like that it's got multiple handles here and here. But ultimately, that bag is all set. So the next challenge is to get the rest of this stuff into my personal item. So again, a personal item is supposed to be 18 by 14 by 8. From what I understand, the depth, the thickness here is the most important because it has to fit underneath the seat of the airplane. So, and again, these are the depths according to the major U.S. airlines. So with the bags here, there's a couple of different types of bags, obviously, that you can find. I found this one. My husband found another one. So my husband's personal item is going to be this one. This one is a Patagonia Black Hole Mini MLC backpack. This one is a 20 by 12 by 7. It's about 2 inches longer than what the airlines indicate they will accept. But again, if he doesn't pack it all the way out, it should still be sufficient. This one I like mostly because it's all wide open space. So if you look at this, you have this entire wide open space here. You don't have a ton of dividers. or extra things getting in the way. So this one, for the purposes of what I'm trying to do today, would probably work better in my opinion. Unfortunately, my husband grabbed them just before they went out of stock, so I wasn't lucky enough to get one. So the one I ended up with is the OGO. This is the Alpha Convoy 630 backpack. And this one here has lots of pockets. So if you like organization, that's probably going to work out really well for you. It's got, you know, these pockets in the front. It's got these pockets here. So you've got a front section, you've got another front section, and then you've got a back section here. Each one of these layers takes up space, which is just why I would have preferred the Patagonia version. But this is a good backpack, and I am able to pack all the rest of my stuff into this backpack, so it's a great backpack for me. It's going to work really well. One of the things that I looked for in a backpack is the little luggage handle pass-through. That's because if I don't want to carry it through the airport, I want to be able to attach it to my carry-on. I also look for, you know, things that help with weight. So they have these lift straps here that help lift it up. They have the chest strap here just to help with the weight. So as we look at this, I'm going to be packing most of my stuff into this main compartment. So we'll kind of put that like this. So the first thing I want to do is I'm going to start with my regs. Now I did try to pack it in the reg bag. Unfortunately, the reg bag was too big. So I am going to take my regs out and pack the regs such that they kind of wrap around the backpack. So I'm going to put my first stage at the top just so that I make sure I keep it protected. And then I'm going to wrap my regulators around the bag itself. That way it will leave me the center basically to pack other stuff. So we'll put my first stage up here, my inflator hose there. So we'll start first with my Octo. And I'm just kind of tucking it down around into the bottom and around the edges of the backpack. Then I'm going to do the same with my first stage, my long hose first stage. And I'm going to tuck this around here. And I want to try and get it so that the regulators are up at the top more because I'm going to use the bottom for my packing cubes. All right, so something like this to start. And then I'm going to kind of just set this off to the side for a minute so that I can pack up my clothes. So my goal with the clothes is just to have enough, again, in case my checked bag gets lost or delayed. I want to have enough for a change of clothes for a day or two, enough to go diving in my dive skins, things like that. Knowing that most places will have clothing stores, you know, if I absolutely had to. So basically just the bare essentials on the clothes. So I am using these two, they're Thule compression pack bags. So for these, I have the small version and I have the medium version. The small version just basically has underclothes in there, bras, undies, socks, things like that. This medium version, I'm going to pack all of these other items into it. So I'm going to start with, I have 2 dive skins from Wanderlust. I'm going to stick those in. And then I've got 3, these are short cloth shorts that I like to wear underneath my dive skins. And then I've got 3 t-shirts, just some kind of lightweight, simple t-shirts. And I've got 1 pair of jean shorts that I can throw on, and that's going to go right on top. So this is the width of it when it is uncompressed. So I'm going to compress it and then I'll show you the width of it compressed. As we measured it, we did discover that compressing these only gives you about 3/4 of an inch to an inch, but that extra inch savings helps me keep my bag just underneath the limit. So to me, it was well worth it. Also, as a note, these bags, especially the little one, I've had more items in there than what I have right now, and have been able to compress it down. So, whoops. Okay, so this is what it looks like while it is compressed. So for this one, I'm going to fit this one in the bottom here of my bag. Just going to kind of tuck it down in there so that it fits. Make sure I'm not squishing my rags. So you can kind of see what that looks like. Also see that I have space still. So it is thin enough that it's not even hitting the height of the backpack itself. The next thing I'm going to do is take the small compression bag. Again, this is what it looks like before it's compressed. I'm going to compress that down. And this one I'm just going to set here in the center. Right here, being mindful of my regs again so that I don't squish them. Okay, so ultimately that's what that looks like on the inside. So the next thing I'm going to do is grab my computers. I like to carry them in a hard case so that way I know that they're protected. I'm just going to set that right on top. And then my mask. So it's just a standard mask in my mask case, and I'm going to set that right on top. Okay, I'm going to keep these to the front of the bag. Flip this over. And you can see how easily it zips for the most part. I also have these compression straps on the side. So I'm going to hook these in so that I can use them. Cinch it down. There we go. And then my last thing, obviously this is going to get checked. Can't carry on a knife. My last thing is my iPad. So this does have a spot for a laptop and an iPad. With as full as I pack it, I don't know that I can fit an iPad or a laptop in there, but I can definitely fit my iPad in there. That can get stuck. And that can go like that. So, ultimately, this holds all the rest of my gear. So now I'm going to do a final check. I'm going to measure it, see how deep it is. Okay, I can still squish. It still has plenty of room for me to squish it down if I need to. So as I measure this, I'm going to go from here, and if you can see, I'm right about that 8-inch mark, which is what the personal item depth is for the most major airlines. Check the bottom here and just kind of make sure the same thing. Yep, I mean, it's really close to that 8 inches, and if I squished, I could definitely get it down to that 8 inches, I believe. The other thing was length. So length, unfortunately, is at that 20 inches. That was the size of the bag when I bought it. I'm pretty sure it'll be all right, though, so I'm not too worried about that extra 2 inches. So grabbing this, obviously I've got a spot for my water bottle. I'm putting it on. This is not overly heavy, so it's easy enough to carry. Definitely lighter than a single tank with a BC. There that is. All right, so I believe I have successfully packed all of the dive gear that I feel I would like to have with me. Again, in the off chance that my check bag gets lost or delayed, I should still be able to dive comfortably in all of my own gear, which was very important to me. So hopefully this helps someone else with the same question. But thank you for watching.